All right, shall we get started? We're doing lesson 7 of looking at how to practice Debussy's Arabesque. This is going to be bars 34 to 38, which is really the culmination of the A section. So we've made it, and it's a wall of text, wall of notes, I mean, just a wall. So we're going to look at two things in this video. We're going to look at what's going on here. What is going on with this wall of notes? And we're going to look at a few simple ways to practice this section, kind of break it down and give you some tools to go forward so it's not as intimidating and not as much work to learn. First of all, what is going on here? Fair enough. Really, this is one giant cadence. We're hitting the end of the A section, so we're building up this ascending line to a final 5-1 cadence. We've got the B major here, we've got the E major, and we're just finishing it off. So we're looking at groups of triplets with a top note melody. The dynamics are bringing us up, and then with a beautiful fade out right at the end. And really, to get an idea of this, we can break it into almost 4 breaths, where each group of notes here is a breath. So you have 2 breaths of crescendo, a breath of decrescendo in this continuing ascending line, and a final cadence. So let's look at how to practice it. First, I want to break this up visually into breaths. When you practice it, you're going to actually physically take a breath in between each of these phrases. That'll give you some space and some time to just regroup, refocus, and sort of get your mind around what's going on here and get your fingers under you. So how are we going to practice this? If you know me, I love my chunks. I love chunking these out into solid chords, and it is, as always, mildly frustrating, but it is so worth it. So worth it for time and energy and solidifying your knowledge of these notes. There are 2 ways to group these triplets. Are they both grammatically correct? Probably not. I'm pretty sure one is more musically, grammatically correct than the other. But we're going to look at both of them because one will work better for you than the other. So the first way that we can try grouping these triplets into a solid chord will be using the sort of the motion going upwards. So we're not looking at the beat yet, but we're going to start on the lowest note, group it as a triplet ending with that interval, the solid interval at the top, and that'll be at the end. So it'll be something like this. And with each triplet, you're moving up to that solid interval, and it really does sound amazing musically. So I'm not gonna go into the nuts and bolts of if this one's more musically correct or if chunking it by beat, which we'll look at next, is going to be. I am so far removed from music analysis in school, so we're just going to do both, and you find the one that's the easiest for you to get your mind around, or the one that you like the most. If we group those triplets into a solid chord, we're going to end up with something like this. And remember to take a breath in between these groupings. doing here, I'm also leaving out that left-hand arpeggio, like one thing at a time here. One thing at a time. We'll look at that later. So 2 things, I added the breaths in. Just take a pause. Give yourself a bit of a break. Stringing 4 chords together is a lot. So give yourself the space, string the chords together, pause, string the next chords together. Eventually they'll be more or less seamless, but you also need a breath. Like you don't want to be holding your breath to the end of this. It makes everything faster. It makes everyone stressed, makes you stressed, makes the people listening stressed if they don't get a space to breathe. And at the end of the section, right now as we're practicing it, leave out that arpeggio in the left hand. We're going to look at that later. Don't worry about that. So that's way 1. Chunking up the triplets by ascending line. Let's look at a second way to chunk them, which is a bit more self-explanatory. Just each beat, each group of triplets, it's already there on the page for you. Again, remember to keep the breaths and leave that left hand arpeggio. Again, we're looking at that later. All right, so this is going to take a ton of practice, but take your time and play with both ways. See which one you like the most. Do both if you want, or choose one and just stick with it. Regardless, you'll be ready for the next step once you get these more or less under your fingers. And that's going to be adding the dynamics. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to group it into breaths, little mini phrases. This time, the first one, you're going to have a small crescendo, followed by another small crescendo, followed by a decrescendo and a resolution. And you can imagine when you're stringing the whole thing together, it's really going to give that huge build up to the top of the crescendo and then a fade away. Beautiful. Doing it in the second way of grouping the notes by beat will be something like this. All right, I really want to give you more ways to practice this, but this does it. Really, chunking out these triplets really gets it again under your fingers, and giving yourself a space, a little breath in between these mini phrases allows you to reset, regroup, and focus on the next set of ascending chords. And it will get under your fingers. When you start breaking it up into the triplets, keep that breath, keep that space, allow yourself to regroup between each one, and then slowly make that pause a little less dramatic. That will probably naturally happen. But you might need to just roll it back and take a smaller breath. All right, so now we're gonna go look at the left hand. Left hand is 2 arpeggios. This is where you really see this cadence point coming to a head at the end of this A section. What we have here going on the left hand is a B major 7 arpeggio going up in quarter notes, followed by in 8th notes an E major resolution. So 5, 7 to 1. A couple fingering points to make this a little bit easier. You can do this in, you know it, chunks. And you don't have to be doing any crossovers, and your fingers will land exactly where they need to be. Because we have this chord, we've got the B major 7, leaving out the 3rd. Jump up to the next B major 7. Again, your 5 finger is on the root position. And then a B right at the end. Its root position's up. So B at the bottom, B followed by an ending B. I'm gonna try that again. Really gives you an anchor. And then the next step is to break this up. shifting your hand as you go up. The E major arpeggio might be a little bit trickier. It's faster, just a factor of the eighth notes instead of quarter notes, and it sweeps over a larger range of the keyboard. Fingering tip for the E major arpeggio, that bottom octave. E to E. 5 to 5 really sets you up well for the fingering to continue the sweep. It gives you a pause, a breath after this upward motion and excitement in the right hand. We land at the top note in the right hand, the lowest note in the left hand, and it gives you a moment to pause, hold it with the pedal, let the music sing as you find your way to the next E with your 5 finger. And that sets you up in a nice set of arpeggiated fingering chords, whatever you want to call it. And then you sweep it together slowly. Good luck with this section. Let me know how it goes. If you're liking following along and learning ways to practice this, like, subscribe, do all the things. Let me know if you tried this and if it made a difference in your practice and made it a bit easier for you to learn. And I'll see you next week.